Somebody big just died, and that's why we are here. My name is Aldo Gandia, and beside me is the incomparable Mike North. Mike, how are you, my friend?
Thank you for the nice words. Same back to you, my friend. We've had a great relationship, but this is one of our unique type of situations, Aldo. I think that somebody big just died. It's a concept I came up with about a month and a half, 2 months ago, watching coverage of people that died that are great or have made impact on the news, getting 2 minutes because 30 and under, 25 and under producers who produce for TV, radio, what have you, don't give the full account. So I said, look, if the Will McCain needs something from Fox on the death of somebody, if somebody from CNN needs something, you come there. Or if anybody in TV news, WGN, Lauren Jiggets, needs something. Channel 11, Phil Ponce. I mean, I can go all night long, like Lionel Richie, with the information we're going to give, because I don't think it's been adequate. Lisa Marie Presley on one station was the daughter of rock icon Elvis Presley, but there's no mention of Michael Jackson being her husband. And then on the other station, she was the widow of Michael Jackson and also the daughter of pop star Elvis Presley. I'm going, wait a minute. I mean, right here, pop star. He ain't Donny Osmond. Okay, he's like maybe the greatest entertainer who ever lived. So I just think this will be a stop gap place. And when I called you, and I called a few other people, and I talked to BB, who's one of the executive producers who puts things together for us, as we just saw, and helps us out tremendously. Everybody seemed to like it. So I'm very excited about this, and I know that I pitched it to Cumberland Chapels at 8300 Lawrence Avenue. Look them up, folks. Cumberland Chapels. Check out, it's, how do I say, the Portillo's of funeral homes. I mean, they don't have a drive-through, but they have chapels. It's oval. You don't get in anybody's way. Very nice. I was just there not long ago. I know your two in-laws will wait there.
My mother-in-law, Rosemary Scherer, and my father-in-law, Charlie Scherer, the funerals were both held at Cumberland, and they did a fabulous, fabulous job. Very caring, attention to detail was fantastic, and I can't say enough about how good Cumberland Chapels is. So we're very grateful that Cumberland Chapels is a part of this show. And also, why don't you tell us a little bit about Pennyville Station?
Well, Pennyville Station. There used to be a guy named Tino Antonacci. He had a place called Basta Pasta, and I did some of the greatest TV shows. One is Emmys, 2 Emmys. No, 1 Emmy was from Fox, excuse me. The other one was from the show. My wife was the executive producer. This one you had to bring cameras, the big cameras down to cables and everything else. And we had everybody from Carlton Fisk, Pete Rose, Jake LaMotta, Daniel J. Travante, Harold Ramis. Wow. Bobby Heenan, every week. We had somebody huge come in, Pete Rose, right after the All-Star game when Jim Gray had the deal. And Tino Antonacci is a hell of an entrepreneur and businessman. He's been downtown, he's been uptown, he's been all around town. And he owned Sweetwater's back in the day with Doug Buffone and Steve Lombardo, who now owns Gibson's Steakhouse, where Mr. Kelly's was, then Sweetwater, now Gibson's. Now his son has followed in his footsteps, Tony, and it's Pennyville Station at 112 Main Street, right across from the train station. Just get off the train, go like 4 doors down. Great restaurant, and also they do a lot of the wakes. They have private rooms. If you have a funeral, they've expanded the restaurant also. They got so much room. Great food. Carmen DeFalco's been there recently, said it's a great vibe. So we're happy to have both aboard on what I think is going to be a lot of fun, because we're going to poke fun at death too. And look, we should work if we're not here. Somebody big died today. Somebody big died isn't going to happen if one of us is gone. Okay, so we got to stay healthy, eat the right things.
There you go.
Who do you want to get on first?
Well, I just want to reiterate what you said. We are going to celebrate death, but we're also going to talk. If somebody in their background had some controversy, we're going to talk about that as well. And and also one of the great philosophers whose name I've forgotten, so he's not maybe that great, but he said it's important to make light of death and not be afraid of it. And I think that's part of the tone that you and I hope to achieve with this show, and have a few laughs, but also be respectful of the recently deceased. And in the open of our video, we listed some of the people who have died recently. One, Richard Belzer, the famed comedian who went on to further fame in the TV show Law and Order. What are your thoughts about Richard passing?
First of all, Richard Belzer was in Scarface. He did the nightclub scene. I was not the biggest fan of Richard Belzer. I like guys like, it doesn't mean I wouldn't sit through a show. I've seen them all, from Rickles to Dennis Miller. It doesn't matter. Eddie Murphy. It doesn't matter. I love comedy, and he was one of the funny guys. But he wasn't the one. But what I like is that this will bring him to the forefront. He's big enough to be on the show. Tom Dreesen just said, when he found out about this show, he tweeted me. Tom's out in California. He goes, I hope I'm never on the show. But here's the thing. He's big enough to be on the show, just like Belzer. But also, we're going to give both sides. Bobby Hull, when we were kids, greatest hockey player on earth. By the time he was 50, he was holding his wife over a balcony.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's true.
It's absolutely right. But you heard one side on some stations, and from the Blackhawks, and you heard other side from other stations. You don't have to go anywhere. You're with me. You're with Aldo. We're going to tell you both. I saw who wrote his obituary. Some people wrote his obituary like he was in prison, and no, he wasn't, but it made it sound that way. And then others wrote it like hockey only. Gotta be both. And let me just state this: I'm gonna write my own obituary after seeing Bobby Hull. The mainstream press will skewer you. It's amazing that things don't come out while he was the ambassador of the Hawks like they should have, because they want to keep their gigs with Rocky. You heard some of it, but it wasn't out there.
Yeah, there was. He did give an interview where Bobby Hull praised Hitler, saying that he had some good theories, and then the Blackhawks hired him as the ambassador, or he was ambassador at the time, and the Blackhawks didn't do anything about that. So there is a lot there. We do know that Bobby was a great, fantastic hockey player, but unfortunately, he said and did things that were reprehensible in the eyes of most people. Also in the open mic, we pay tribute to Raquel Welch. And I know people of our age, you and I age, we remember Raquel very, very well when we were younger men.
The rest of them are hobos. All of them. I don't care who they are. You can bring up anybody you want. You can bring up Marilyn Monroe, Man, you'd meet her, you'd have a one-night stand. The next thing you know, you're going, there's people knocking on your door, guys with guns surrounding the house, barbiturates all over the place. And she wouldn't show up on time for work and all this other stuff. Too much baggage, too much drama. Now, Raquel Welch.
Yeah. Forget
about it. The last thing I wanted to do with my poster from 10,000 years BC was poke holes in it, like they did in Shawshank.
1,000,000 years BC, yes.
Oh, whatever it was, 10 years. I didn't give a damn. Let me tell you something. Great woman wouldn't get naked for Hefner when everybody was getting paid.
Yeah.
And everybody was trying to make it to the top. She goes, I'm not going to do none of that. And at first, we were all, because the only time we saw naked women when as 12, 13, 14, 15, was when people would bundle their magazines and we'd go through the alleys looking for Playboys. We didn't have one like this. My God, And then you find out she don't want to do it. And now you respect her for that. And she is a class lady, and she'll remember she did some great movies, 100 Rifles with Jim Brown, Kansas City Bomber. We went to the theater to go see that.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yes.
Not the greatest actress. She was in Myra Breckenridge, which was way ahead of its time. Now it's a normal thing for most people. It was considered risque at the time. She wasn't afraid. Okay, but she didn't get a lot of the roles because, to be quite frank, I didn't give a damn if she was in the movies. But I loved her on talk shows. You know, she was on Dick Cavett with Janis Joplin.
Okay. Oh, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Her and Janis Joplin, they got along great. She didn't lower herself. Janis Joplin didn't lower herself. She's a big rock star. Raquel Welch is known for her looks more than anything.
My biological father took me downtown to go see a movie. I had no idea what movie we were going to see. So we come out of the New York subway, and I turned to my left, and up above the movie marquee is this, I don't know, maybe 40-foot tall poster of Raquel Welch with her fuzzy britches, as the warden in Shawshank referred to her. And I was probably 6 or 7 years old at the time. That was my first indoctrination of, holy cow.
Yeah.
What a gorgeous woman. Another great movie she did was Hanny Calder, where she played out in the West, and her husband is killed, and she sets out for revenge. So she did some good movies. I agree with you. She wasn't the finest actress, but she was darn good.
And as good as any person, any woman who's ever lived. And I think the amount of people, guys, especially our age, that were down and out that day when she died, you know, when you start seeing your pinup girls go, whether it's Farrah Fawcett or whether it was Marilyn Monroe or whether it's, you know, and guys too, you know, rock idols like Elvis and Sinatra. Those are very tough times. I mean, when Elvis died, I'm not over Elvis yet. I just saw too much talent. I'm not over Whitney Houston. I'm not. Those two should still be alive making great music. It just makes me sick. It makes me ill. Now, somebody else, David Crosby, lived to be 82 years of age. I saw the documentary, which was one of the most forthright documentaries of all time, in my opinion, with David Crosby. He basically says I was a piece of crap.
I was not easy. Big ego, no brains. I don't think I was a good lover. I think I was
Watch the documentary. They beat the crap out of him because he just let him down so many times. It would be like me not showing up for a me and Eldo show, or Eldo the same way. You can only take so much of that.
Exactly.
Yet the guy took full accountability, and I was really impressed with him. Bibi did not like him, even from what he was saying in the documentary, because there wasn't a lot of. I mean, he threw a Joni Mitchell. He went out with her some tough times. He went out with a lot of top ladies, and he did not have the greatest reputation.
He did not. Well, someone who did have a very good reputation, Burt Bacharach, a phenomenal composer, had so many hits in the 60s and 70s, and by all accounts, he was a really good guy, wasn't he?
This is a guy that had it all. He had looks. He had a good partner in Hal David, which is important, like I just mentioned, to have a good partner in anything you do. One guy wrote the lyrics. The other guy wrote the music. He was married to Angie Dickinson in her prime. Yeah, Don Lemon, even over 51. She was in her prime. and take a shot at the former Chicago guy. But believe me when I tell you this, I can name all songs. Dionne Warwick's career is based on Burt Bacharach.
Yes,
Promises,
indeed.
Promises. Do you know the way to San Jose? She did Valley of the Dolls. Dionne Warwick's one of my favorite singers, also related to Whitney Houston. And she's still around. And then she made a comeback with the Bee Gees and Tragedy and all this other stuff. But Burt Bacharach, to me, I mean, he's in Austin Powers with Elvis Costello, the very first one. He was a hit. They sang his song. He's the soundtrack, one of the soundtracks, along with Motown, the Beach Boys, the European Invasion. The other soundtrack of the 60s is Burt Bacharach.
Yeah, I would agree totally with that. He had a great sound to his music, a great catalog indeed. Someone else who recently passed away, Stella Stevens, the actress. And when we were talking earlier about her, you pointed out something to me that I did not know. Her son was the actor Andrew Stevens. I did not know that, Mike.
Well, that's why I want to do this show, because there's stuff that you've told me I didn't know. There's stuff that I tell you, which means all those people out there don't know, maybe, because I follow this stuff as much as I follow sports. When I was a kid, I'd buy Sport Magazine. I'd buy, as I got older, Jet, Ebony, People. Magazine was huge when it first came out. Maybe not as much now, but that's where all genres, that's where it crossed all genres. So Andrew Stevens, I found out through reading. I seen him on Dallas. I seen him on other things. He did some fighter series, and it's Andrew Stevens. Well, Stella Stevens was his mom. And believe me, when Andrew Stevens was 17, 18, she was smoking still. She was still smoking. Her biggest role is Nutty Professor with Jerry Lewis. And she's sort of like a Barbara Eden type of a girl. Good actress. I wouldn't put her up as the main pinup girl, just very attractive.
Mike, this is really what we're going to do every future episode. But from starting with our next episode, we're going to zero in on one person. It'll be a 15, 20-minute podcast. We'll talk about that person's life in detail. We will celebrate it. And as Mike said, if there's something controversial that needs to be mentioned, we will, of course, go into that and also have a few laughs along the way. Mike,
there's no doubt. I mean, well, we got two guys on the docket right now. They're at the boat dock. They're ready to climb the boat, climb on and go to
that's right.
Go to Heavenly Island. Tom Sizemore. Tom
right.
Sizemore right now is in hospice. I mean, my uncle was in hospice for 2 days, and he finally woke up. He says, "How long are we going to do this? Let's go." And then he went back down. Tom Sizemore's on hospice, and they go, the doctors are saying there's no hope, and I guess they think there's another role coming his way. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about Tom Sizemore in one of our episodes, and then Jimmy Carter. Here's another guy.
Yes.
They go, he's resting comfortably in hospice. That's where everybody wants to rest comfortably, isn't it? I thought when you ended up, like if somebody goes, you're like this, and somebody goes, let's put him in hospice. You go, me? And they go, yeah. That's it. It's over. These guys have been around. So we're waiting. We don't wish any condolences to both families. But we're going to do 2 20-minute, 15, 20-minute episodes brought to you by Cumberland Chapel's Funeral Home in Norwich, 8300 Lawrence. Plenty of parking, beautiful stuff, plenty of places to go, plenty of chapels. You don't get in each other's way. It's not one of those straight line places where you got 5 chapels on one side or 2 chapels and you're getting in each other's way. Parking all over the place, lots, the whole ball of wax. And, of course, by Pennyville Station. And, Aldo, we're going off the seat of our pants, but I thought our debut has been pretty good without any rehearsal.
I thought so, too. And I'm really appreciative, Mike, that you've invited me to be a part of this project. Like you said earlier.
Couldn't do it without you.
Well, this is your brainchild. You and BB have presented me with this opportunity. I'm really happy to be on board. And hopefully you and I will not be a part of this show in terms of the subject matter for a long, long, long time.
No, because you know what? As we're going to say to our many listeners and fans right now who will love this show, the one thing I don't want to ever hear for real at the end is, so long, everybody. And that will be it. Thanks for listening, everybody.